Was it nice to worship the Lord this morning? Yep. Nobody here? Okay, it's good. Just one of us. Well, I enjoyed it. Thank you. I've gone old school today with a piece of paper. It's not that technology let me down. We were just scribbling notes as I went along, and we had to change the plan a little bit on Thursday this week. So let's go through it a little bit this morning. But we're going to continue in Proverbs 8 through our visual commentary. So if you have a Bible and that's kind of your thing, then load it up to Proverbs 8. I've got two videos today, one short one, and it just sort of sets us up for the second video. So I'm going to go ahead and play that, Ruben, if you're ready to go at your end there. I will start it, and then we'll have a little discussion together, collectively, and then we'll watch the next one. Ready to go? Here we go.
There are three books in the Bible that have come to be called the wisdom literature: Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Job.
And all of these books are addressing the same set of questions. What kind of world are we living in? And what does it look like to live well in this world?
So, how to be good at life.
Yeah. So each of these books tackles these questions from a unique perspective. And it's important to understand all of them to get a fully biblical perspective on the good life.
We're going to start by meeting the book of Proverbs, the brilliant young teacher. And she's not just smart, she's smart about everything: work, relationships, sex, spirituality. She has incredible insights, things you wouldn't see on your own.
Yeah, she would be the perfect friend to have around when you need really specific advice.
So what makes her so smart?
Well, Proverbs can see things that most people don't see. She believes that there's an invisible creative force in the universe that can guide people in how they should live. And you can't see it, just like you can't see gravity, but it affects everything that we do.
So what's this force?
Well, in Hebrew, it's called chokhmah, and it usually gets translated into English as wisdom. It's an attribute of God that God used to create the world. And chokhmah has been woven into the fabric of things and how they work. So wherever people are making good or just or wise decisions, they're tapping into chokhmah.
And whenever someone's making a bad decision, they're working against chokhmah.
Right, or as it says in Proverbs chapter 1, the waywardness of fools will destroy them, but the one who listens to wisdom lives in security.
So it's like a moral law of the universe.
Yeah, it's a cause-effect pattern, and no one can escape it. And Proverbs personifies all of this as a woman.
Yeah, Lady Wisdom.
Right, and she roams around the earth, calling out, making herself available to anyone who's willing to listen to her and to learn. Which leads to the second thing Proverbs believes: that anyone can access and interact with wisdom and use it to make a beautiful life for yourself or for others.
You can create with it like a designer.
Yes, in fact, chokhmah in Hebrew isn't simply intellectual knowledge. The word is also used to describe a skilled artisan who excels at their craft, like woodworking or stonemasonry. So you show you possess chokhmah when you put it to work and develop the skill of making a good life.
All right. So that's the first one. That just sets us up a little bit. So Proverbs essentially asks us a couple of questions, which was, what kind of world do we live in? And then what does it look like to live well? So we would be discussing this in our small groups this morning, but because we're not going to do that, what I thought I would ask you is, and maybe you want to call them out, so we at least have some interactive part of today. What sort of things are the good life in your mind? If I said to you, Dawn, you could live the good life, what would be the first thing that came to you? First thing. There's no right or wrong answers, just first thing. Money. Sunshine, if you lived in the UK. Health, right? Anything else come to mind if I said the good life? Right relationships. So relationships that work well together, that assist each other and to grow one another. What about healthy bodies? A few of us have experienced unhealthy parts of our body that, can put us into a really difficult place at times. So the good life would mean our body was healthy and working, and we could walk past the donut shop and, no? Okay, that's my good life. Education. We have a surprising amount of teachers in this church. I don't know if it's disproportionate to other churches, but we value education, I think, as a community here. We have individuals who value education. Anyone else? The good life? Reuben, what would the good life mean for you? One aspect? Day at the beach? Good food? Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So the writer of Proverbs is basically looking to get you to ask yourself, what's the good life look for you, right? And then compare it to what the good life looks like for God and what he desires for us. Now, the interesting thing about what we're going to see in the next video is that the writer of Proverbs assumes that if you gain one thing, then you gain everything, right? It could be described as a tree that has all sorts of different fruit that stem from the one tree, or a stream of river that houses various different animals and different blessings. So what is this particular tree, or what is this stream? They referred to it earlier. It was called hukmah. So if you can speak Hebrew and I've just offended you, I apologize. But I've written down here hukmah, spelled H-O-O-K-M-A. All right, just to so for those who are educators, yeah. But this particular term then basically refers to the pursuit, but also the use of wisdom. So as I was reflecting on this, we wrote down a bunch of things like family and health and healthy bodies and financial things, education, sunshine, day at the beach, those sorts of things. But I didn't consider straight off the bat that wisdom would be the central point to the good life. You have wisdom, you gain everything else. There's only two people that I've met in my life that have been profoundly wise. Some people have possessed wisdom in different aspects of their life. We've only met two people in my life where their whole life is wise. Their finances are good, their relationships are good, their health is good, and it's because they had the fear of the Lord. Now, this particular video we just watched, that was only 2 minutes of it. So if you want to have a look on the Bible Project, just put in that 3-part series and you can learn the rest on the fear of the Lord. But they had a genuine sense of the fear of the Lord in their life, and their life looked well. They pursued wisdom, but they also used wisdom, and they deployed it in every part of their life. So as we go to the next video, which is a little bit longer, I want you to keep an eye out for the word carve. Right? It's used a couple of times, 3 or 4 times in this particular video. But think about you carving out your life intentionally with wisdom as a tool, right? A part of that carving is, in the next video, they're going to talk about we have 2 ways of carving or 2 ways of building something. And so we're going to come back and we'll talk about that. But basically, one way partners with God, and the other way partners with something else. So let's have a look at this. Ready, Reuben? We'll go. Here we go.
In the story of the Bible, God creates the world by carving order out of disorder and darkness.
Like an artist, creating a place where life can flourish.
Right. And still today, God's ordering power is at work, preventing the cosmos from slipping back into chaos and nothingness.
And in the Bible, humanity has a key role to play in this ordering work.
But to partner with God in that ongoing ordering of the cosmos, we need to be mentored by Lady Wisdom.
Lady Wisdom? Who's that?
Let's find out in Proverbs chapter 8.
So within the Hebrew Bible, there's a scroll called Proverbs. It's about gaining wisdom.
And while most of the scroll is a collection of short proverbs, it begins with 9 chapters of speeches in which we meet a cast of symbolic characters.
There's a wise fatherly king and a woman named Lady Wisdom.
And they're offering divine wisdom that leads to stability and life.
There's also a wicked man and a wily woman called Lady Folly.
And their way of life is attractive, but it leads to disorder and death.
Okay, so these speeches force you to make a choice. Whose advice will you listen to?
Right, these contrasting couples are like poetic symbols of the many voices out there telling us how to be human. And in Proverbs, they're all competing for the attention of you, the reader, who's referred to throughout as my son.
Got it.
Now, all these speeches can be grouped into 3 main sections. And for now, we're going to focus on Proverbs chapter 8. It's a long speech from this majestic woman.
Lady Wisdom.
She's God's wisdom personified. And she stands at a crossroads on a tall hill, inviting you to enter into God's sacred city.
Doesn't wisdom cry out and understanding raise her voice? At the road's high point, at the crossroads, she stands. Besides the gates going into the city, at the entrance, she shouts.
And then Lady Wisdom begins her speech. It has 4 main parts. In the first part, Wisdom declares her value.
Choose my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than pure gold. For wisdom is more precious than pearls, and nothing you desire compares with her.
So living by God's wisdom can lead to the most valuable things in life. Healthy relationships, moral integrity, a stable, fruitful life.
You can't buy those things with money.
Right. And in the third part of her speech, she repeats the same idea.
Wealth and honor are with me, enduring abundance and justice. My fruit is better than pure gold, and what I offer surpasses silver.
Now, let's back up to the second part of her speech, where we learn that God's wisdom is very practical. In fact, humans depend upon it every day, whether they know it or not.
Through me kings reign, and rulers issue decrees that are just. Through me princes rule, and nobles, all who judge with justice.
Now, that phrase, issue decrees, comes from the Hebrew word chakak. It means literally to carve or engrave. It refers to how ancient kings would carve laws of justice onto tablets.
So a good leader confronts disorder and injustice by creating laws that are just. And when they do so, they're drawing on God's wisdom.
Right. Wise leaders become images of God, who also creates, by his decrees, carving order out of chaos. But God's decrees aren't written on tablets. Rather, they're woven into the fabric of creation itself. In fact, that's what the final part of Lady Wisdom's speech is all about. She claims that she was there with God in the beginning.
Yahweh brought me forth as the firstborn of his way, before his deeds of old. In the remote past, I was formed. From the beginning, from the earliest times of the land.
Now watch, she's going to repeat that Hebrew word, chakak, to describe how God carved order into the world.
When he established the skies, I was there. When he carved a horizon on the face of the deep waters.
Here God is splitting the dark, chaotic waters in half, making the waters above and below.
And he carved a boundary for the sea, so the waters don't cross his command.
This is God creating the boundary of the dry land, holding back the sea so humans can flourish in peace.
When he carved the foundations of the land, I was there.
The biblical authors imagined that the dry land was supported by pillars below to keep it from sinking back into the chaotic sea.
So this is the 3-tiered cosmos, described all over the Bible.
Right. It's how the Israelites and all their ancient neighbors imagined the world. And notice, The dry land is sustained and protected from the surrounding chaos only by God's wise carving abilities.
That's beautiful.
It is. And it's worth celebrating. Like Lady Wisdom says,
I was beside him growing up, and I was his daily delight, celebrating before him the entire time, celebrating the inhabited world of the land, delighting in human beings.
God's wisdom delights in the ordered universe and also in humanity.
yes, because humans are the image of God, called to live by divine wisdom as they carve out their own little spots here in his world.
But humans often reject God's wisdom, doing what's right in our own eyes.
And in the Bible, that's how humans drag creation back into chaos and darkness. It's only when we live by God's wisdom that we join his project of ordering the world, creating space and communities where all of God's creatures can flourish in peace. Or, as Lady Wisdom puts it at the conclusion of her speech,
The one who finds me finds life and receives favor from Yahweh. But the one who forfeits me hurts themselves. Those who hate me love death.
so every day, Lady Wisdom presents us with a choice. Will I live by God's wisdom and contribute order, beauty, and justice to the world?
Or am I going to live selfishly by my own wisdom and pull creation back into chaos from which it came?
That's the decision that lay before humans throughout the story of the Bible, and still today. Which way will you choose? Lady Wisdom is waiting for our answer.
They do a great job, don't they? So the reflection from the video, we'll probably jump into some small groups, keeping ourselves adequately distanced. And I've got a couple of questions which we can talk through, and then we're going to have some tea and coffee and some food outside. But the reflection that I want to sort of leave us with is that Lady Wisdom says, the one who finds wisdom finds life and receives favor from Yahweh. So with the pursuit and the use of wisdom, it leads to an abundance and a life of celebration. That was sort of her final point in that section. And it basically means if you were to find life and receive favor from Yahweh, you've stepped into the good life. Right. You've arrived. And now it becomes a point of continuing to pursue and use the wisdom. So, a couple of the questions. What surprised you about wisdom? I mentioned earlier, for me, it was a tool, considered a tool used for carving. It's by God's wisdom that the waters are kept back from the land. I woke up this morning at, I think it was 2 o'clock in the morning, to a tsunami warning. And our household was not in a tsunami zone, obviously. But storm coming through and the trampoline banging in the backyard, and Nay and I are running out in the rain and trying to sort out all our toys, kids' toys in the backyard. But there's something about earthquakes and waters rising and things that is a hot topic for a lot of people. And what we see is Proverbs addressing that and saying it's by God's wisdom that he carves out a line which enables humans to flourish. So what surprised you about wisdom? Lady Wisdom talked about celebration. And I encourage you to pull Proverbs 8 up and read that again. She talks about this idea of celebrating before Yahweh all of the time. So what areas of your life are flourishing and in celebration right now? Now you might find that your focus is drawn to none. maybe you've got to think and work a little bit harder to find that. But Yahweh's at work in your life, which means that there's flourishing and there's celebration in areas. And so I'd like you to share that with somebody in your group. Now, you don't have to give all the details. Share the theme. It might be that work is going really wonderfully right now and you've seen some change happen in a space that was contested before, something like that. And then what we're going to do after that is within the small group, we're going to pray for each other in pairs, if that's possible. Now, we love the laying on of hands. We'll just pause that one in this little season, okay? If you want to do this, you're welcome to do that. But I want you to read James 1:5. And if you can, read it aloud. Now, I know with the masks, this is a really difficult process for us. And then what we want to do is we want to bless one another. We want to ask God for wisdom in the areas that are not flourishing, right? We want to bless each other with the life and favor of Yahweh. And we want to release God's favor where it's been forfeited in someone's life. Section. But thank you for joining us this morning, and we'll see you guys very shortly.